dear Chairman, Mr. Ramu, and my great friend and very senior member of the profession from Tirupur, Sri Godandapani, past chairman of the Tirupur branch, and the incoming chairman of the SIRC. And the person is a very humble and simple personality from Coimbatore, Mr. Jalabadi, vice chairman of the SIRC, and Mr. Varadarajan, senior members here, the incoming chairman and other committee members, the past chairman present here. At the outset, I must thank the organizers, especially the chairman, who has invited me to come over, incoming chairman, to come over here and participate this wonderful event, which we all are going to witness on the installation ceremony today. In fact, when we sent the invitation, I was under the impression some speaker is going to come. That I found then later, I have to address on this faceless assessment. Very interestingly, the faceless assessment, it may be a support to the profession, it may be a support to the taxpayers, and it's honestly, I can tell you, it's truly supporting everyone. Not only the profession, as well as the taxpayers. When it was launched on the faceless assessment, people have raised many apprehensions about this faceless assessment. How are we going to produce the evidences? The Indian Evidence Act is an important act which is gel with the Income Tax Act. When there are notices received from the Income Tax Department, we have started personally visiting their income tax offices, producing the documents, supporting evidences, all the details before the assessing officer. The assessing officer, one single person, he has to receive he has to issue notice to us, to the taxpayer, collect all the informations, and assess the information along with the return. And then he has to take a judgment whether the return filed and the evidences produced before him are perfect, correct, and then he has to pass an assessment order. Then while passing the assessment order, he has to issue a refund or he has to raise the demand. After that, he has to start working in case if there is a return filed is not within the law, or is an undisclosed income he has deducted, or that the return filed covering with misstatements, not a full disclosures, then he has to issue notice earlier 271(c), later on the 271(a) penalties and everything. Misreporting, underreporting, the law evolved in such a manner, penalty and prosecution has to come again. So the same person, one person sitting in the same room, has to take one assessee, all the activities. You see that on the end of the assessment period, the time limits were given to them, very crucial time for them. They had to pass the assessment order on a particular time of 31st December or 31st March. They have to pass the orders within the law. When the pressure goes on to them, the filing of a particulars, considering the issues, and they know who is the assessee also. An assessee may be a sitting minister, assessee may be a former minister, maybe a sitting MLA, former MP, maybe a very, very important VIP in the city, a honest taxpayer, maybe a big industrialist. So all these things, he is aware of that. Before passing the assessment order, certain environmental constraints will come to him. So what is the law says, an assessing officer must pass a judicious order. He has to take all the evidences according to the law, consider it before passing an order, a speaking order. Where is the time for him to pass the speaking order on 31st? The large number of cases have to be handled by him. There are certain survey cases, what are certain disclosures, there are certain search cases, there are certain reopening of cases. Section 148 is a notice must have been issued within the time limit. The order has to be passed with the satisfaction before sending in notices for reassessment. He has to satisfy, and he should have a reason to believe there exists an undisclosed income or income escaped under Section 147. So he has to apply his mind and give it to the senior officer, additional commissioner or a joint commissioner, get its approval based on that, And he has to get an approval from the principal commissioner in case if the reopening period is more than 4 years. All these things has to consider. So imagine a single person has to act on all the roles. Passing as a judicial officer, he has to passing an order. As an officer in the income tax department, revenue leakage has to be considered. As an officer in the income tax department, as an administrator, he has to enforce the penalty, enforce the levy of interest, enforce the collection of money, refund everything has to give. All these things have to be carried out by a single person. Now you come to that point relating when a single person passing an order, the environmental constraint by the person who knows the person particularly. The next a chartered accountant appeared before him. He must have been giving a lot of informations. Some of them are young chartered accountants, they may be appeared before him, they are giving only very few points. But as an officer, he has to consider judiciously. Whatever the given, he has to accept that one. There are certain constraints for him. The large number of chartered accountants are waiting outside the corridors of the income tax department, and the time limit was given to him. Very few time limit was given. In certain cases, he has to collect an evidence extraneously without the knowledge of the assessee. He has to send the summons and collect. Imagine these are the things have happened in the last few years. Then later on, the law evolved in such a manner. You file everything with your allotted email ID, you file the particulars. There are certain constraints for filing of a particulars, explain to them. You go and produce the document before the assessing officer. After his satisfaction, we have to upload it. So that was the practical difficulty started. Luckily, the government is able to identify what type of an assessments are carried out by the assessing officer on various circles throughout the country. Is there a revenue is increasing because of an assessment? The earlier days, the government has started with simplification of the law of the income tax. You file your return, smile and go. File, smile and go. That was the concept started. Later on, they started of a full scrutiny. Then later on started for limited scrutiny. Then later limited scrutiny to the full scrutiny. And so many procedural aspects have started. Then started from the filing of our return by e-filing. E-filing was the tax audit report. We have received many communications from the CPC, relating to the comparison between the return file versus the tax audit report. Disallowances, for example, now the amendment in the finance bill, which is proposed in 2021, as disallowances relating to ESI and PF. As a chartered accountant, when you are disclosing our tax audit report, we have to give all the disclosures relating to the violation of non-filing, non-depositing of the employees' contributions. So naturally, the employees' contribution has to be treated as an income in the hands of the taxpayer if it is not deposited within the time limit specified under the respective ESA Act, PF Act, and other labor welfare acts. So as a chartered accountant, we have given a mandate in a tax audit report, disclose all these matter. Beyond that, allowing it, disallowing it is not in our hand. It is a responsibility of the SSC to consider it, whether it has to be allowed or not to be allowed. But strict sense, if you apply the law, it should not be allowed. The law is amended in such a manner when you are paying the entire employee's contributions. And if it is paid before the filing of the return of the due date, specified in section 139(1), and it has to be allowed. When it goes for an 43B interpretation vis-a-vis these interpretations, the court have taken a lenient view, even in case if you deposit the employee's contribution later date, along with your employer contribution, or filing of a return before this 139(1) time limit, they allowed it, all these things to be carried over. Matter went to various courts. The Kerala has taken more labor-oriented views. They have let it not be allowed. Gujarat High Court says it cannot be allowed. Madras Court started allowing it. Delhi allowing it. Bombay allowing it. There are a number of interpretations. To set right that it has come now, this finance bill is giving a complete clarificatory note that it cannot be allowed as a deduction. It has to be treated as an income. So like that, the many matters, 48(2)B, you take 48(2)B, we are giving what are the interested parties transactions. Maybe you have sister concerns transaction, a director in which he is a partner, the transactions are taking place, and father, mother, salaries, and everything we have seen that you all aware of the intercompany in transactions, how it is taking place. So naturally, the duty of a chartered accountant in tax audit report under section 48(2)(b) class, we have to disclose all these matters. Now we are disclosing it, whether these items are covering under the market related value, fair market adopted. For example, a company A purchasing goods from company B in which his wife is a director. We don't know the transaction taken place by way of a net transfers, purchases disclosed, and it has been taken into account. But is it a market value or not? Is it an arm's length transaction or not? That's the very important point which section 48(2)(b) is addressing. Now that 48(2)(b), the role and responsibility of the tax auditor is to disclose the transactions. We don't have any mandate beyond to identify whether this is a fair market value. We are not going to give a comparative study on these things. The institute guidance notes that you have to disclose it. Now it's up to the assessing officer to take into consideration whether it's a fair market value or not. Take an example. To that extent, the 48(2)(b) will not be disallowed while processing of the return in the case of a CPC. Only if the case is taken for scrutiny, only the very few officers are able to identify what is the transaction value, and then they are able to question it. So that's all are completely escaped from all this comparison study. Many things are happening for a tax audit in the case of a TDS. So all these things which are all coming before the CPC, some of the items they were able to identify and they have given all this information. Information relating to GST comparison, all these things are now started. So who are all going to compare all these things? Now, the machine learning is very important. Technology is taking care of the entire aspects. So they want a fair assessment. The government has taken honoring the honest taxpayers. That is the principle which the Honorable Prime Minister has mentioned, that honoring the honest taxpayer. How you are going to honoring the honest taxpayer? If you are an honest taxpayer, you are filing all the details by way of an e-filing. Your records are in the servers of the income tax department. Nobody has a right to verify except the assessing officer or legally enforceable officer. Not all the officers are going to verify it. So that is the security is there for all your data presented to the income tax department. Earlier, anybody can go and take the copies. And there are RTA as well prohibiting the collecting of information of somebody's from the income tax department. So to that extent, security is proved that your data are stored. And validity of the data and the evidences, it is verified by the chartered accountant in certain cases relating to tax audits. Certain cases, it's a self-declaration. Assessee himself is giving a self-declarations. So who is going to verify? So in such a manner, the government has devised. The earlier started with the filing of the details with the emails, but you should not go to the income tax department, file only by email, and then they can be verified by them, they can pass the order. The process evolved now. It's a faceless assessment. Why is it faceless assessment? How this jurisdiction is going to be identified? Do you have a jurisdiction only in South or a jurisdiction all over the country? So that is the one West started with the email, filing of details with an email. That time itself started, the assessment will be carried out by any other person. There is no jurisdiction of a particular assessing officer. So now it's a borderless. The jurisdiction is vested with the various units specified by the government. So to that extent, they have launched the faceless assessment scheme. Under this scheme, there will be a national e-assessment center, regional e-assessment center. Out of that, again, there is an assessment units. Then there is a verification unit. There is a technical units. You imagine this. A single person was analyzed all the returns. Single person has acted individually for all the role as an assessing officer judiciously, assessing officer to protect the revenue, assessing after collecting the revenue, assessing officer levy the penalty, assessing officer launching the prosecutions. Now that role has been completely changed. So there is no assessing officer before the taxpayer to identify whether this person is known to me or not. He is a rich man or a poor man. He is an MP or an MLA. He is a minister. He is an IAS officer. Nothing is there. So this is the one fair opportunity open to the honest taxpayers. Is there a questions, irrelevant questions they are going to ask? Is there any harassment is going to come? Nothing. It is required only compliances. So this is the units which are going to be there. Once a file e-filed, then e-filing is over. The time limit now is changed for all your issue of notice and section 143(2). There is a regular process of their CPC will carried out. Few cases will be picked up. How these few cases are going to be picked up is very important now. National E-Assessment Center is going to pick up all these cases. They have given this details, everything. They will ask for the questionnaires and everything. And all this matter, once it is verified, it will be given to an assessing unit. Once an assessing unit will send the notices, details to the taxpayer through E-Assessment Centers. So there is there is a check for that. There is a mechanism of controlling the assessing unit also. And after passing the assessing unit, that's a very important now, see that all the informations we are going to give only by way of uploading in their web portals of the income tax portal. So what is that is required today? I have seen the last few months, the interaction with the various chartered accountants and even myself and personally, I'm very happy with this e-assessment procedure. I mean, this faceless assessment procedure. Reason? There is a very clear mind for all of us. There is no pressure on all of us, whether that man is going to accept it or not, whether I have to go for an appeal or not, whether these facts are true or not, we don't know. We as a representative appearing before them and we are explaining to all of them. So that units will do all the assessments and everything will be verified by the other person. There will be a issue of draft assessment orders. And in case if your person now that's today, yesterday they have amended further, there will be a passing of an order in section 144. So cause notice will be given, the detailed why that points are to be considered as to be assessed as an income, why this point has not been explained, and what are the reasons. So all these things that assessing unit and everything will be processed through national e-assessment. So there is a mechanism of one unit which is going to verify the entire things, and there will be an assessing unit, there will be a verification unit for all these things. That's a technical support. For example, 48(2)(b) you are mentioning in your tax audit report, 48(2)(b) mentioning in our income tax return, both will be compared. Certainly they can take it up, the cases. Verification, technical unit, they can compare whether this particular industry, the purchases made from X and Y, the market values, what is the total value of the market values? Whether these values are in consonant with the arm's length price, or it has any camouflage they have done by inflating the prices to avoid the profit, transferring a profit. Though there is the transfer pricing is there, for a smaller unit it's not applicable. So to that extent, there will be a complete check by the technical units. And there is automatic checks can be carried out with the available GST details are available to the income tax department. They can identify. So interest, the industry wise, the transaction they can identify. The transaction between the sister concerns can be identified. The closing stock which we disclosed to the income tax department, comparing this, all these things can be verified. You see that now the concept of small companies, concept of one-person companies, the Finance Bill 2021 in the Parliament, now it is placed. One of the greater relief for a small companies. Small companies limit completely changed. One-person company limit completely changed. What is CARO 2020? If you read everything in the CARO 2020, more and more disclosure is required from the auditor side. Auditors should continuously verify the stock statement given to the bankers. How are we going to verify? How are you going to give a justification in our audit report? These statements are perfect. The role and responsibilities are there. Now there is an exemption for the small companies, OPCs and all these things. At least to that extent, we can explain to the clients, these are all going to come in future. You ready yourself now for disclosing these materials. What is you honestly given to the income tax department? What is you are honestly giving to the bankers for loan availability? And finally, what is the real as per AS2 statement, accounting standard, which we are applying, what should be your value? So there is all these things are going to come before us. These are the questions are going to be asked from the faceless assessment. It is not a faceless assessment. It's not going to be a very simple assessment. Nobody should think on that. There is a technical skill persons are going to sit on that. They are going to completely verify the documents and records. It may be a limited scrutiny, it may be a open full scrutiny, but technical verifications have to be carried out by them. You see section 50C, you can give a valuation from the guideline value available. They can sit there and identify it. At any point of then, before you file the documents, they will verify it automatically. You say that it's an 8 kilometer, my property is beyond the 8 kilometer, and you file the return. The assessee is saying that my property is 8 kilometer away. I am not subject to, or 4 kilometer away, I am not subject to the capital gain. I am selling my only agricultural land. I am not subject to capital gain. In Google Map, immediately technical, they are going to verify how many of you are going to give a disclosure about the capital gain. Few cases can be picked up, they can verify immediately, they will give whether this particular property is outside the capital gain limit or within the capital gain limit. So nobody is going to escape on that. Specified financial transactions, they are going to give this SFT is going to give more informations. So all these things are very important. Now the introduction of all these TDS on your sales, now they have introduced. TDS on the payment made, last year they have introduced. So the TDS are going to be a very important sector for the income tax department, identify the transactions. So cases will be automatically taken into verifications. You see that what is the next stage which we are going to see in the income tax department. In the faceless assessment, there will be units will be allotted. There will be regional units. Nobody knows who is sitting there, who is going to do that. It is under the principal commissioner is going to be there. There are 4 or 5 people are going to verify all your records. Then verification carried out by another 4 or 5 people, and technical team will be there on all these things. So all of them are going to see that you should not go to the appeal. Even if you go to the appeal, you should not win. There is a responsibility. We have seen number of cases. The assessing officers passed the order. Matter has been completely deleted. The additions have been completely deleted by the CIT appeals. Then interpretation go to the tribunal. Tribunal, sometimes they allow it or sometimes they deleted it. Matter has gone to the High Court. So now the litigation process are going to be reduced. In the process, if an assessment order passed by the technical e-assessment or a faceless assessment, there will be a very, very strong order is going to come. 90% I have seen that many of them are got, after filing all the details, they are got the orders, nil demand orders, accepted by the department. So we had to prepare ourselves to file the documents in perfectly. In future, what is the role and responsibility of the chartered accountants? Now it is a time for us, real skill for all of us. It is a real skill relating to preparation of the documentations, real skill preparation of the understanding the law of evidence, real skill relating to apprising the facts before us, real skill preparation of the replies was going to come. So the skill of understanding the business, that is our standard is very clear. The knowledge of the business of an assessee is very important. When you are doing an audit, you should have a knowledge about the business. When you are doing audit, you should understand what are the auditing standards are prescribing to what is the materiality concept we have to apply. What is the concept of disclosure is required? What is an understanding about the assessee's transaction vis-a-vis the external evidences? So now the real skill of whatever we learn during our education period, training period, with a great dream we have started our practice, which we are going to have a very strong practitioners. Later on, external environmental has put in a different direction to many of us. But it's a time for us to understand. If you want to be a tax practitioner, to understand the entire laws of the Income Tax Act, not only Income Tax Act, Indian Evidence Act, and the Transfer of Property Act, and the other acts relating to the Contract Act, Partnership Act, so many other acts are going to play, which we have studied in our intermediate period. So all these things are in this faceless assessment, which we are ready to provide all the details. So the automatic, now penalties are going to be automatic, prosecutions are going to be faceless, and CIT appeals are going to be faceless. We can't say that the order passed by, they are responsible now. The accountability started in the faceless units. When the assessment order passed by the faceless unit, when we file an appeal, if that faceless appeal, now again he said, faceless appeal, again if it is deleted, it will be definitely a responsibility on the faceless unit. And again, if they go for a faceless tribunal, Now it's national tribunal. Now that tribunals also becoming a jurisdictionless. Everywhere. If you are a case in Delhi, you can appear. Any of your client, you can just file all your appeals. You need not call for a person from Delhi to argue the cases. You need not go to Chennai to file your appeals. So what is the skill for us? Where is that? We have our own talent and skill within ourselves. The person sitting in Tirupur, able to prepare your draft of your assessment orders. You have to prepare a reply for an assessment order. File an appeal before the tribunal, but you are giving it to a other person. Today, what are we going to do that? Somebody has mentioned out our profession is coming down, that we are not able to get an opportunity. It's totally wrong. We are having a more and more opportunity opened up now. So this faceless assessment, I think with this I close it. Faceless assessment, we can go on talk about the faceless way, but let us have a very interesting function. Is we will witness all the function and we will install a new chairman. Then we will come for a felicitation. Thank you, Andal, for this wonderful evening and patient hearing. Thank you very much.